Hi everyone. This is the first time I'll do this, so bear with me, but it's a good practice, I think. My name is Ruben. I'm a 34-year-old white man, brown hair, wearing a gray suit with a black shirt. Let's see, I should probably lose a few pounds. I have a glass eye that may look a bit wonky, but beyond that, according to my mum 25 years ago, I am also the handsomest boy on this planet, so... I'll talk about a few things today, and I can't wait to bring on stage in a little bit Fiona. But really, everything that I'll be talking about today is about journalism and the advertiser's role in supporting journalism. Not out of charity, but because it drives business growth. And there's a false narrative around journalism not being a safe space for advertisers. Which is weird because it's the OG channel, right? More than 100 years, newspapers have supported news, and advertisers have grown their brands and their business through advertising on the news. In newspapers, on TV, next to Walter Cronkite and other historical legends. But there's something weird going on today that I want to bring to life and then discuss with my guest. Let's see. At Ubiquity, we help our clients, exclusively brand advertisers, deliver effective and responsible media. Like Ali and her team, instead of moving with the political winds away from responsibility, we are doubling down on responsibility. Responsibility and effectiveness are mutually inclusive. I don't know if that's actually a word, I know mutually exclusive is, but they are mutually inclusive and drive each other. More responsible media drives better effectiveness. Take it from me. This year, the market has surpassed $1 trillion in global ad spend. We would think, great, growth, if you're very capitalist-minded. Especially digital is on the rise. In 2025, digital media accounts for 75% of all global ad spend. But something else, something that I really genuinely worry about deeply is going on at the same time. Journalism is under threat. This is some data from Bain. In 2011, US news ad spend accounted for 15% of the total ad spend in the US. In 2022, that number has dropped to 3% of all ad spend in the US. The OG channel that has carried great ads for more than a century is under a lot of pressure. That's putting it lightly. It's a 65% net decline in a market that, as I just showed, continues to grow. What this results in is that local newspapers in the US are suffering. The newsrooms, the editorial divisions are under more pressure than ever, as I think we can all agree that especially this year, there is more critical news to be covered and more critical potential corruption to be investigated. We've seen a 60% decline from 2006 to 2021 in terms of employees in the newsroom, journalists in the US. Now, this worries me because there is a lot of corruption, there are a lot of issues in this world to be covered. Who can tell me what this relates to? Anyone? It's a protest following news that was broken about the Sackler family, who are behind Purdue Chemical, a main constituent and driver of the opioid crisis. They pushed false narratives, knowing that the data they were presenting was not right, saying things like opioids, or in their case, OxyContin, results in addiction in less than 1% of its users. And this is personal to me. Just over 3 years ago, after a robbery where I stabbed in my head, I lost my eye and I underwent quite a lot of surgery for 6 or 7 weeks. I was using a lot of OxyContin. Ironically, were the best weeks of my life, I'm not kidding. Coming off of it was the worst thing that I've ever had to go through. Maybe even more so than the psychological trauma. Even today, the craving is still there. It's a primal, visceral craving. So I can sympathize deeply with people that aren't able to recover, don't have the support network, right? That are now lifelong opioid addicts, going further and further, needing more and more, which is caused, of course, currently in the US, the fentanyl crisis. We know about the Panama Papers. In short, rich people moving their money into places to not pay tax. Seeing tax as a bad thing, not as what it is, a contribution to society we live in. The education that we can receive, the safety that we have, the health care that we all deserve. The Financial Times broke the Wirecard fraud, major fraud by a billionaire founder of a financial services company. We all know the Cambridge Analytica scandal, I hope, about how Meta's data, or Facebook back then, was openly accessible to be misused for political intervention. And this group of people at the recent inauguration, in front of the new president's family, really don't like journalism a lot. Why? Because it holds them to account. Journalism is the fourth estate of democracy. It's critical, but it's in the way of powerful, rich people and corporations that just want to be left alone and do whatever they want to increase shareholder results, shareholder value, and to increase their own personal power. The one person who probably hates journalism most is this guy. He's obviously relentlessly attacked outlets that are critical of him, saying fake news, legacy media, terrible. He's trying to ban them out of the White House altogether, not allowing some very neutral, truth-saying press houses to provide commentary. It's ridiculous. And why is that? Well, because journalism has in the past led to presidents losing their position. Journalism, I think, genuinely is one of the last remaining key pillars that is able to hold power to account, which we need now more than ever. I'm joined today for a one-on-one interview by someone spectacular from the Financial Times. Founded in 1988, the Financial Times has evolved from a London financial newspaper to a global authority in business journalism. The FT reaches over 26 million influential readers monthly, and its subscriber-first business model proves that quality journalism remains valuable in today's fragmented media landscape. The FT's audience, primarily C-suite executives, policymakers, and investors, offers advertisers a rare combination of trust, attention, and influence. I will be joined by Fiona Spooner, Managing Director of Consumer Revenue at the Financial Times, with an experienced background in the media industry, particularly in digital transformation and subscriptions. She currently leads Global Consumer Revenue Group and is responsible for consumer marketing, customer care, and business development growth in order to support, fund, and champion quality journalism. I would like to invite Fiona as I play a video from the FT that we thought captures what we're talking about today really well. Fiona, please join me on stage.
When it comes to sharing or acting on our opinions, why are some of us more confident than others? Financial Times subscribers know that their opinions are robust because they're shaped by trusted journalism.
Great. Thank you for joining me on stage today, Fiona. It's a pleasure.
Thanks very much for having me. It's honestly such a joy to be here and nice to see so many familiar faces in the room. I am Fiona. I'm a woman in my mid-40s with red hair, and I am wearing a greeny-coloured leopard print dress.
A beautiful dress, I should say.
Thanks.
Fiona, the FT has a storied history of trusted journalism. How do you find trusted news media in 2025, and why should we really care about this distinction?
Okay, so this is my favourite subject to talk about. Trusted journalism to me is all about facts, it's all about truth, it's rigorous journalism, it's checked, it is without any bias or hidden agendas. And I think that is really important, and it's, a great introduction relevant to that. It's important. I mean, I care personally because, we're living in this world where democratic society is more and more at risk. We've got misinformation, we've got AI, we've mentioned this today, and we're seeing play out the real impact of what happens when decisions are made by people in positions of power that impact the society we live in. So I think having quality journalism be sustained in this world is really important. And we hear this from our readers and our audiences. The reason, you just played our new campaign, Source FT. This was based on global research we had from our audience, or from our prospect audiences, telling us that there's a crisis of trust at the moment, that people are overwhelmed, they don't know what to believe, we get information from very different sources, and the real importance is knowing not just what to read, but where it comes from. And I think us being able to understand that, it means it gives us and our readers, conviction, confidence to be able to hold those people to account, to challenge the conversations, to speak more broadly with knowing that what we're saying, believing, reading is actually true.
Great, thank you. And could you talk us through the editorial process at the FT and explain how professional journalism differs from social media content, for example? We hear more and more, or we read research where it's like Gen Z now gets their news from TikTok or whatever platform. But I always I have an issue with sort of classifying news as this one thing. There is a lot of spectrum within that. Could you take us through what that means at the FT?
So I mean, it was great to hear from the panel earlier, and social media has a place, but I definitely worry when people, and my kids do it all the time, about, did you hear this? It's unbelievable. And I go, where did you hear that? TikTok. Well, do you think it really is unbelievable? The way our journalism is, factually correct, and we can do that, is, and actually, it's a very interesting question that I've never been asked until recently. Like, I've worked for the FT for 20 years, and no one's really questioned whether or not what we publish is true. And that's interesting to me in itself, that people are asking that. So, but first of all, culturally, it's really important. So trust and integrity is really deeply rooted into our corporate values. And our journalists know it is their job to report the facts, report the truth, to hold power to account, and that's the priority. Well, our original headmast is without fear and without favour, and that's really what they're striving to do. Our newsroom is really clear that it's most important to be right, not first. So I think culturally it's very important that our editorial team are driven by that purpose of reporting the truth. The other importance is the commercial editorial relationship within the business. So it's very clear editorial integrity is key. So although we work collaboratively with our editorial teams, that divide between commercial and editorial is really important. So again, there's no incentive to write anything that is because we think we'll sell more subscriptions for it, or write anything because an advertiser, we would never do that because an advertiser wants us to, or probably more importantly, to not write something because it risks advertising. So that editorial integrity is really, really key. And then there's practical things that we do to make sure that everything we write is factually correct. So we don't publish anything without it being double-sourced. It has to be verified. We have lawyers in the newsroom to help support it. So everything is really factually correct, and we make sure of that.
And it's interesting because you're right. The reputation of the FT is incredibly strong. I think we in this room would all agree. And it has taken more than a century to build that. But what we also know is that, for example, at the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos, where he recently blocked a cartoon that put him in a bad light, that reputation can be destroyed immediately, leading to, in their case, a walkout of hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And frankly, for many people around the world, the realization that, you know what, maybe their tagline, democracy dies in darkness, is that still so accurate and appropriate for a company's owner, a newspaper's owner that behaves that way?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why we have to really, we never take that trust for granted. And I think that's really important. It's not something we take for granted in our content. Like, of course, you should trust us. We have to work really, really hard, and we work hard at measuring that. It's not just in the content, but it's, we prioritize it in my team. Looking at, it's not just what we say; it's also what we do. So making sure our subscription experiences are as transparent as possible, making sure our pricing is really clear, enabling people to cancel their subscription, making sure that the customer experience is as premium as possible, because the risk of losing that trust, you can take away years and years, and you don't get it back.
Risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And they lost 200,000 subscribers overnight.
Yeah.
They're not coming back.
No. So, Fiona, the FT has a particularly unique and influential audience. Could you share some insights about why your readership is composed in that way, and what makes that so valuable?
So we have a global paying audience of about 3 million, just over 3 million. That's very much digital audience. I think people always think about the FT as a newspaper, but actually our print circulation is only about 150,000. So we have a global audience. About 50% of those are the people, as you said, business decision makers, C-suite, CFOs, that core audience. The FT is read, apparently, I'm assured, still in the White House, but Downing Street and by policymakers, politicians, business leaders. But also, our audience is growing in different ways. So people are often surprised to hear that we have a bigger US audience and that we do the UK audience at the moment for individual subscriptions. Again, I find that quite reassuring, that appetite for non-partisan news is really growing there. And I suppose because of the demographic of those audiences, historically our audience has been predominantly male, no surprise, and slightly older, but we've been working really hard on increasing the diversity of our audience. And that has been led by Rula Halaf in particular, who's our editor. So the FT had our first female editor back in 2019 for the first time, which has made a huge difference to the company. And she's really championed broadening our female audience and more diverse audience. So we've got, at the moment, about a quarter of our engaged readers are women. We've got a target to increase that to a third over the next couple of years. So the audience is really growing and diversifying, and I think we can see in the appetite of people wanting more and more factual information, more quality journalism, that we're seeing people come to us for that.
Thank you. So in my experience at Ubiquity, working with advertisers, one thing that they are bringing up in conversations I would say in the last 5 years, and increasingly more so, is that they are worried about being seen as political or partisan as a result of either advertising on certain news channels such as Fox or MSNBC, or excluding certain channels but advertising on other news. So how do you distinguish between supporting quality journalism and taking political positions as an advertiser?
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting question, and as a marketer and an advertiser myself, I understand why this is asked. I was pleased to hear it's been covered quite a lot in the conversation today about the fact that it's not about being political by being related to a news, being seen with news. It's being having your brand in the right platform and next to trusted news, not biased either way. We know that 60% of our audience will be more likely to buy into a brand that they've seen within a trusted media environment. So I think it's not about the political bias, it's about making sure that you're positioning your brand to the right audience and having a diverse portfolio, not putting it in just one place. It was talked about the impact of Meta and the politicalness of content there. I think supporting news in general and having your brand in the right places ensures brand safety. And the alternative is to not support news or to not have your brand in anything related to news, and that's not sustainable.
And that's a critical point you make. all of our research and that of many other companies and organizations in our industry shows that advertising on news provides outsized effectiveness opportunities. So it's critical for brand builders, for those that look to engage with, attentive readers. It's a cultural place to be. It's a high impact, high attention, high effectiveness environment to advertising.
Yeah, and we have a really engaged, like a high engagement, so we're very much about value over volume. The average revenue per user for an FT subscriber is over £400. For the New York Times, that's $10. So
wait, £400 for the FT versus $10 ARPU for the New York Times.
Yeah,
Wow.
because their strategy is a volume play, and that works for them. Ours is very much a value. So having that really loyal, engaged audience that are very habitual about the content they're reading means that you can have those experiences without impacting any sort of political issues.
Great. So how is the FT adapting its business model to ensure sustainable, independent journalism while still meeting advertisers' needs for brand safety and effectiveness?
Well, the main way that we're doing it is really by putting the customers first in everything that we do. So we've prioritized the reader revenue model a few years ago. We made sure that we have that sustainable income and the regular support from subscriptions revenue. But we also did that at the same time by not deprioritizing our advertising model. So making sure that we've got sustainable revenue for our subscriptions, but also alongside our advertising. We also have a brilliant events business. We have FT Professional, so diversifying the whole portfolio across CFT. But then what we're doing for our consumers is making sure that we're continually investing that into new product development, to new formats that our customers want from us. So be that audio, be that newsletters, be that FT Edit that we've had recently. So making sure that we're really serving our customers in the way we want and diversifying how they engage with our content in different ways, but also having that spread across the business, not just in one place.
Great. And for all of those intelligent, great, ambitious, and powerful people in the room who are shaping media investment globally, do you have any last words for them, any words of advice?
I think my call to arms is normally about this, is, to understand where your news is coming from, to support it, to pay for it, to understand the value of that. Because it frightens me if we don't have sustainable journalism, we don't have facts, and we're only surrounded by misinformation, then it means that we're all making decisions based on that. And also, just as marketers, we're kind of left with X to advertise on, and I don't think any of us want that.
No, thank you. And as a closer, because we've talked about how trusted news is effective and brand safe, I'll put the last slide for my presentation on the screen. That is a compendium of, can I do that? I don't think so. That's a compendium of 21 pieces of evidence, data points, research that prove that quality journalism, trusted news is brand safe and effective for advertisers. This will be made available through Ali and her team in the wrap-up of this event. This is made with a consortium under Advertising Who Cares, a non-profit initiative. So we wanted to give you that as some impartial evidence. For now, I would really like to thank Fiona for joining me today. You've been an incredible guest. Thank you.